And so far, all the motivations I've seen can be easily explained by their attempts to protect privacy.
Pretty much, yes. I would agree with you on that one, Doc. I know a lot of the, oh, I know, I shouldn't say a lot. I know a good handful of engineers there that I've known through school at RIT, that they've gone on to work at Google, and just from meeting people at conferences. They hire the smartest people. They hire people who really are frankly, a couple of them that I know are very, private of their own data themselves. And you can talk about putting your eggs in one basket, and they have a big basket and they have a lot of data, and that does scare me. However, if I trust anybody's security team, digitally or physically, it's Google's.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, you can look at Facebook, you can look at all these other places that don't really care about security. They don't know, they don't care, they don't want to spend the money. It's not a priority. That's what Google's always done. Is they were the first ones to bring two-factor authentication to light in the public knowledge. People in the tech world knew about it, but some banks knew about it. I had a bank that actually thought a CAPTCHA was a second form of, a second factor for authentication, until somebody set them straight finally. Seriously, it was ridiculous. But they do this. They have a history of wanting to be secure, and I don't want to be, just like you, I don't want to be a Google fanboy. I don't want to say Google's great, Google's wonderful, let's bow down to Google. But at the same time, there's got to be some common sense. Everything they've shown so far in their hand has been fairly straightforward. If they've come out with an oops moment, whether it was or was not an oops moment, they've at least disclosed it and brought it out in the public eye. Oops, we were collecting Wi-Fi passwords, sorry. You know, they got slapped with fines for that.
Yeah.
Nobody would have known.
No.
If I may interrupt, is a good segue into one of the questions that we had put together. So what does NSA and PRISM have to do with Google or with search? Can you break that down for us, Tom?
I'll make it as simple as I possibly can.
Sure.
So PRISM is the spying system that the government had set up, and Snowden kind of blew the whistle on that one a little bit. That's been going on for years and years and years. It was part of the FISA court and all that interaction. It's basically a way of, trying to thwart terrorism, because that's the word that they throw around whenever they start tossing our Bill of Rights liberties kind of, lightly. But it's basically, if you search for something, Google has a list of all that searches. I mean, you need to save your search history if you use Google now. That's part of how the service works to refine your searches. All the search engines, to a certain extent, are saving that data anyway, because search has gotten more personal. It's not about, I'm looking for the word water right now, or the word hammer right now. If I was looking up things like how to build a gazebo or how to build a deck 2 weeks ago, and I started looking for a new hammer because I broke mine or lost mine, it wouldn't show me the musical artist. It wouldn't show me the museum in California. It would show me, Home Depot and lots of little mom and pop hardware stores near me where I can go buy a hammer, and what the different sizes and colors and weights and whatever were. So they've kept your history for that reason. Because of that, the government can say at any time, hey, we want to go see this person's search history, and they have to put it in a nice pretty package and send it on all over. If they encrypt this data, that becomes an issue where it becomes harder to actually transport that data out of their systems.
Furthermore, I would question that.
Well,
if there's anybody out there capable of decrypting something, NSA has got the talent. Okay.
Well, yeah, they do, and they built that new data center now, right, to handle that. That can process more ones and zeros than we can get our hands around. But
yeah, but a warrant won't allow them to go sweeping through everybody's searches on a certain day on a certain class C IP address. They have to isolate that user, so therefore they have to have a warrant. So it's quite a bit more difficult, near to impossible, to extract that data for a warrant.
Exactly. So the other side of that coin too is, now if they start feeding me that keyword data through analytics, which they were before, and now with the encrypted searches they're not, I have that. I can mine Google Analytics all day long, and they keep that data fairly infinitely. I've gone back, 7, 8, 9 years now with Google Analytics. You can keep that data. I can also mine it through an API. If I can mine it through an API, then I can store that on some other system. It probably isn't anywhere near as secure as some of Google's servers. In fact, I might be buying a virtual host or a virtual something somewhere else, or I might be accessing it through, putting it out there for Dropbox, or putting it out there in weird places.
Or if you've got a P2P.
Yeah, anything.
Set up, then a lot of people can get to it. Yeah.
Or geez, if I'm just a terrible surfer and I'm completely virus ridden, and everybody can rebroadcast all my data streams or my keystrokes or anything else, all that data is now out there. So by Google making it available for third parties, which they have to do for the analytics, that's part of the way the service works. If you provide that other keyword data, now you've got some issues. And it comes back to, it's funny because it comes back to Google covering their own ass essentially, and they have to. They're a large legal entity that has to be protected. Any company, any good company would. So that's really, it comes down to privacy, not just for us but for them. But if you think about this, for a long time, and this has not changed, in all their original 10 rules of don't be evil and all that stuff, Google has said for a long time at pretty much every search conference that ever existed, we don't care about anybody except for the search user, the people who are using the service for free. And everybody laughs at that to a certain extent, but it's true. Everything revolves around their search products. If you have a bad experience with search and you get crappy results, you are going to go look for a different engine. You truly are. If your private data is somehow compromised, think about any time you've had a bad experience with any company. The first thing you do, at least in this digital age, is you go to Twitter and Facebook and you tell all your friends and you share all the bad experiences and you throw pictures up there and this, that, and the other, and you complain about them publicly and bash them. And then you go after them for whatever loss you might have had. Google's going to have that same problem if somebody has a bad search experience or if somebody's private data is exposed. If you are a particular minority or entity or religious group or something and you're searching for things that you're not supposed to be searching for, then that becomes a problem. And if that data gets out and it's personally identifiable back to you, you've got a problem, and you want that information private. So as they've said for all these years, they're protecting the searcher because everything else revolves around that. If you don't use their search, their ads aren't worth as much. If you don't use their ads, then they don't make any money, and everything else rolls downhill from there.
So where does that put companies that actually, you pay them to get background checks, or does that affect those kinds of companies at all?
I've always thought those companies to be rather shady. There's some public data that's out there.
I don't like them. I think they're shady. They muscle. They're bullies, especially with some people that are trying to cover up their record because it was 20, 30 years ago or whatever. They come to you and they say, hey, look, for a couple $100 we can get rid of it. Bullshit.
No.
But how does that really work into this new quote unquote a fortress, if you will?
I'm not sure how it does exactly. I mean, truly, those kind of people are still going to use the same methods they've always used, which is going out and doing searches, trying to find things in different places. The only thing this whole not provided thing really does is it takes the keywords out of analytics and all the associated things that propagates to. So it affects us as marketers measuring page views in analytics based on a certain keyword. The other companies, they have their data feeds from Intellis or from what other geo services they have. They have their ways of searching Facebook, and the human social engineering aspect of it is what most of that stuff is. It's befriending somebody that just to get close to them to get more information to spy somewhere else. I don't think I can't see, at least from the surface, how this affects that. I can't see how this affects anything else except for your analytics data, which is the thing that everybody's complaining about. It's not in analytics anymore, so I'm screwed.
Well, I was looking more at the privacy aspect, not so much the analytics. Gotcha. But yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. Of course, there's other ways to search than just Google, especially when you're getting into social and finding out personal information.
Well, that which brings up another segue. That there's also other ways to get this information.
True.
I've already seen, there was something referenced in a post the other day. The notprovidedcount.com.
Yeah.
That was.
It's a beautiful graph.
Yeah, it's pretty. But
it just kind of goes straight up.
Yeah. But
and again,
people are already talking about a tool. I got an email in the other day from a prominent tool maker that said, "Hey, look at what we've done. We've got a way to get some of, not a cure, but some of this information." And I'm thinking to myself, really? Why would I not just do this myself? Okay? Well, there's so many ways to capture this information.
That's a fabulous point, Doc, because this is the crux of everything. That kind of, I haven't seen that solution, but that kind of solution sounds just like email service providers, right? They'll tell you, and we're not going to go to the validity of the technicalities of email, how you can't do this, but they'll tell you that X number of emails were sent and X number of them were seen and opened, and Y number of them were clicked through upon, and Z number of them bounced. They can tell you the bounces. They can tell you which ones how many were sent. They can't tell you who looked at it. The technology isn't there. They can tell you how many people click through, but what you can't tell when somebody clicks through, because they're going a little counter like this off their server when it redirects to your server, you don't know what they did after that, unless you're tagging it properly with, I talk about this in my analytics classes, but unless you're tagging that properly, if you're just doing a straight up link to your site, www.mycompany.com, the email service provider tags on all these little things so they can count it for you, and they can say, oh yeah, they clicked through, it went through our servers and went off to yours. But you don't have that tagged, and we won't get into the discussion of whether it's a direct visitor or you just can't see it from email, put it that way. You just can't see it from email. And they can't give you that data. They cannot give you that at all. So they all started adding Google Analytics tracking codes to it so you can see it in Analytics and prove it that way. The same thing has happened with these keywords. Unless you're collecting them at the source on your site, and unless you're letting these people with these tools add a widget onto your site, but wait a minute, Google's not passing that through to your site anyway, unless they're putting some kind of bug on Google in between the user and Google. I have no idea how they're doing that. And if you want to scrape that data, Google has it in Webmaster Tools. Can you tie it into a conversion? No. But you certainly can see it all, and it's right there. Sign up for Webmaster Tools. It's free. The best argument I heard this week was, I'm not going to sign up for Webmaster Tools because it's going to show Google all the things that I'm doing wrong. Really? And you're an SEO. Stop doing wrong things by your clients.
Kind of scary, huh?
Well, people don't realize what they say when they say it. And I think it's just people are going to want a reason to complain and moan, and this gives them a great meter. To go back to your graph thing, though, the not provided counter, that was fabulous. And you want to talk about how it showed this was coming. That was like the proverbial ball in Times Square dropping to count down New Year's Eve. You saw that graph going up and up and up, and it's been sitting at 60 for a while now, 70 for certain industries. It's just it just went up to the top. That's all.
Yeah. Well, my concern is too that every time something happens along these lines, that especially if it's triggers another SEO tsunami, SEO is dead tsunami, I should say, then there's going to be a dozen people pop up with, we have this hack, we have this tool, we have this backdoor.
Snake oil. Absolutely.
Yeah, snake oil, exactly. And there's gonna be a lot of that, I predict. Okay, I'd love to be wrong on that, but I'm afraid that there's going to be some of that. And I've just wondered, I like to hear some of your words of wisdom on that. Do you feel like it is even possible to hack this information, or we already know your position on going and finding a way to extract this information on your own site. But do you think that there is any feasible or viable hack that can be offered externally, a tool that can do this and warn people or endorse or whatever?
Any tool, I'm just going to put my techie system administrator hat on right for a second. Any tool that would enable you to do this would either be hacking Google systems, and God help you, or it has to live somewhere client side on the person doing the searching's computer, and it has to actually just go out there and trace your keystrokes. At which point, again, God help you, because it's probably tracing a heck of a lot more than just your Google queries at that point. Maybe somebody will make a toolbar. This could be possible. Actually, now that I say this, I'll probably be held liable for it. But it's probably possible to make a toolbar that redirects queries to Google on your behalf, and that tool, man in the middle, can kind of save that. But that's going to require, again, that the searcher uses that tool.
Yeah, if they were forwarding, yeah.
Right. So, and that's been going on for years. That's not an original idea, so please don't hold me liable for that one. But, that's there. You look at, there's some keyboards for Android that are out there that, will go online and track the next word that normally follows hello or whatever. And how do you know that if it's accessing the internet to access what your possible next word might be, that it's not saving the words you type, including, passwords? So anytime you use a third-party tool that puts them in the middle of you and what you're trying to do under the guise of convenience, how you ever have a middleman become more convenient has never been obvious to me. So can you hack that information? No, I don't think so.
Certainly risk involved in putting somebody else in the stream, though. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do I paste this shit in here? Damn it. How do I share an image?
An image? I don't know if you can in chat, unless you have it on a...
view it on your screen and, view it on a screen and share your screen.
Yeah, you can do share screen.
How about this? Right?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, I got that.
So there's my keywords right there, in this box and this box.